Hi Shed Hackers, and in this video we're going to be assembling something from IKEA. It's basically a small box, and these are a couple of the wooden pieces here, and we're going to be varnishing them. So how we started off was we used a paintbrush to then brush it on like that, but we actually found out that if you use a sponge and dip it in the varnish or paint and then wipe it on, it'll give you a much better coat. So I'll just demonstrate that for you. So I only get a little bit on the brush and then just smooth it along, almost like painting. And then for the paintbrush, you can use it to get in like the corners and stuff like that. In the next video we'll show you how to assemble this, because maybe you've bought one of these from IKEA but the instructions aren't that good, or maybe you're just a little confused. Okay, so that's what it would look like if you use a brush, and it may look slightly better if you try really hard, but using a sponge you can see that it just evenly smooths it, and it's got an even coat. And when you're doing this sort of thing, make sure it goes with the grain, otherwise you'll notice it when it dries. And that's what it would look like with using a sponge. It doesn't have to be a new one, it can just be an old one. So let's get the biggest piece, because that must be the base, right? And the smallest piece, which must be the base. So as you can see, there's a screw hole there and one here, and there's one there. So you can normally just fit it like that, and also dry fit it first. And with this one, just check there's any screw holes. On this one there isn't, because it's going to be screwed onto there like that. And then get the second smallest piece, and it will slot in like that. And as you can see already how it's coming along, sort of thing. And I will just need another one of these. And that's what it will look like. Well, of course this will be the other way round. And we'll show you how to screw it together in the next clip. Okay, so we've just noticed there's a slight error. So we got these fasteners, and when you put them in, you can see that they're completely flush, and that's called countersunk. But it fits together like that, so I don't know why they've done that. And if the screws went in through this side, they'd be poking out and they could scratch your table. So it's just good to keep that in mind whilst making one of these. A good way to solve that is use a drill bit like this. Use to countersink it like this, really. And we can do that right now. All you need is, you can even do this with a hand drill, but I'm going to use a power drill because it's a lot easier. You just tighten it up, and then you place the point in the hole, just a little bit like that, and do that with all four. Doesn't have to go in deep. And as you can see, it did rip a bit off there, so you may want to be a bit careful. Okay, so now we've countersunk these holes, and as you can see, the screws will fit quite flush. And it's always good to work out what kind of fasteners you're going to be using. So that one's obviously going to be too short, so it came with these longer ones, so these are going to be used on the bottom. So you slot it through like that, and then you get one of these pieces, and you will put it in there, line it up like that. And this can be a bit fiddly, so having someone to help may help. And one way you can do it is, if you're not allergic to manual labour, you can use a screwdriver. But I'm allergic to manual labour, so I'm just going to use an electric one. And to do that, you just hold it and just go in quite slowly. Be quite controlled. Don't just go in as quick as you can, because that's where you make mistakes. And then of course we're just going to do this side here. Don't make it too tight for the moment, just in case you need to make any adjustments. And it's a good thing to mention that this one has kind of like handles, so you don't want to be picking it up like that. You want to pick it up like that, so just keep that in mind when you're making this, if you're making this exact one. But you'll be able to use this to make one quite similar, I should assume. So we'll just screw this one in. Okay, so I won't put the next one in, and it's good just to make sure everything still fits like that. So these shorter ones are going to be used to go in there, and as you can see, they've already countersunk them here, so the screws don't protrude. And this is where you may have to, well, use a screwdriver, to be honest. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, you may be able to just get one in there. And yeah, just it's really just a little bit of common sense. But with the instructions, I'm sure you'll be able to put it together, because our viewers are quite smart. So yeah, I don't know if I'll feel well after this, because I'm allergic to manual labour. But the next thing to do is just put this one on. And keep in mind that these are slightly off-centred like that. So actually the bit with the longer piece will go like that. And as you can see, that's how it would be put together. And then we can just put in the rest of the fasteners. And just to make the video go quicker, I'll just put this one in partially. Of course, when you tighten it up, make sure it's not too tight. Otherwise, what can happen is you can either strip the screw, or basically make it where you can't get a screw in it. Or you could rip it out the wood, so it has nothing to bite onto. Anyway. As you can see, that's the sort of concept of how to make it. I haven't screwed all the screws in properly, just to make sure it all fits, and then you can go round.